Next on Worcester News Tonight, contract talk. What city officials are looking to do with the Worcester city manager as he enters the final year of his contract. Plus, police arrest more than 100 people in an effort to help clean up Worcester's Main South neighborhood. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Andy Madison. He's been Worcester's city manager since 2014. And next year, Ed Augustus will enter the final year of his contract. But the city may be making a move to keep the city manager in Worcester for a few more years. City officials could start negotiating extending the city manager's contract for 3 more years. One city councilor we spoke with says they have to decide before February to formally open negotiations to extend the contract. And the topic is on the agenda for a meeting, and it could be discussed later this month.
There is a pretty good consensus that Ed Augustus has done a very good job, and we'd like to see him come back for another 3 years as city manager. But we have to be able to negotiate. He has to want to come back, and then we have to be able to negotiate a contract that's satisfactory to him and also to the people in the city of Worcester.
Not many folks would come.
City manager Ed Augustus's contract ends in October 2017. A Worcester organization accused of misappropriating funds says they have met with state officials and are working to clarify the problem. Earlier this month, a state audit made public claimed Centro Las Americas Inc. here in Worcester improperly used more than $57,000 in state funds for trips to Puerto Rico, golf outings, meals, and gifts. In a statement, Centro reaffirms and clarifies it did nothing wrong. The board of Centro, represented by attorney Rafferty, said in a statement there was no misappropriation of funds, but there were differences in expectations between the organization, the reporting authorities, and our outside auditors. The statement goes on to say the board will take the corrective action necessary to satisfy the state auditor. The state auditor's office could not be reached for comment. A former Boston Celtic delivers an emotional message tonight to a big crowd at Worcester State University. Chris Herren shared his story with hundreds inside the university's new wellness center. Herren spoke of his struggles with drug abuse and how it cost him he lost everything during his time as a professional athlete. Many in the crowd tonight were student athletes at Worcester State. Herren hoped sharing his life story and the story of his recovery will make them more successful.
Hopefully, these athletes walk out of here challenging themselves to be better than they were when they walked in. I think at times we get lost in who we are and what we're doing and, you know, how much better we can become. So hopefully they get that and they're on their way back to their dorm right now and they want to get better than they were when they walked in.
It's very impactful, I guess you'd say. It's very, it really gets you thinking because, you know, with this kind of thing, you don't really see behind the scenes, like deep into someone's life, you know, the backdrop, the backstory of what's really going on, you know, family-wise and everything like that.
Herren's talk was co-sponsored by the Worcester County District Attorney's Office. Worcester addressing crime in the city's Main South neighborhood by arresting more than 100 people there last week. The targeted effort comes after residents and businesses voiced their concern to city leaders. Our Rosalind Flaherty reports.
Our kids need to stand on the corner, wait for a bus. People need to get to and from their businesses. They have a right to do that and feel safe.
City Manager Edward Augustus says residents will see more of a police presence in Worcester's Main South, even after officers made more than 100 arrests in the neighborhood last week.
Stemming crimes of disorder, prostitution, and drug violations.
Police say most of the arrests involved offenses like trespassing, disorderly, and outstanding warrants. 28 arrests were for drug offenses and 19 more for prostitution.
It's much more demonstrable when you drive down the street that some of those activities are a little less than they were just a week ago.
Last week, City Manager Edward Augustus, Police Chief Stephen Sargent, and members of the city's Quality of Life team held a community meeting. Sergeant Mike Hanlon says the goal was to identify specific crime concerns and quality of life issues
that the area residents were encountering, as well as to identify proactive problem-solving efforts to address those specific concerns.
Christiana Owusu works at Midway Fashion. She didn't want her face shown on camera, but says her store was broken into a couple of months ago. Owusu says she feels safer knowing police will have a larger presence.
It makes me feel secured. It really does.
because knowing the fact that we have cops, you know, in the neighborhood trying to, you know, protect us, yeah, it makes us feel so secure.
Rosalind Flaherty, Worcester News Tonight.
Authorities investigating after a Webster man was hit by a police cruiser over the weekend. According to the Worcester County District Attorney's Office, Webster Police responded to 10 Prospect Street around 10:30 last night for reports of a fight between two men. The DA's office says 18-year-old Jai Hilton was laying on his back in the parking lot when a police cruiser took a sharp turn and hit Hilton. He was taken to the hospital. His condition is not known this time. Worcester Police also investigating an accident involving a bicyclist earlier today. This was the scene on Francis McGrath Boulevard. Police and EMTs were on scene treating the male victim. It's unclear at this time what caused the accident. Witnesses say he was hit by a car. The man was taken from the scene in an ambulance. His condition is not known at this time. Staying in Worcester, police have arrested a woman wanted in connection to a serious pedestrian accident. On Saturday, investigators say the driver of this black pickup truck, who was later identified as Susan Dixon, was speaking with another woman in the parking lot of a BP gas station on High Street. Dixon then allegedly sped off with the other woman still holding onto the window. That woman then fell off and was later treated for several injuries. Dixon is now facing multiple charges, including aggravated assault and battery and operating to endanger. The victim, who was not identified, is in stable condition. Most of central Massachusetts woke up to the rare sight of steady rain this morning. It's good news for the region under an extreme drought conditions, but Worcester, unfortunately, it's not close to the amount of rainfall the city needs. And as our Brittany Schaefer shows us, the city is headed toward its worst drought in more than 50 years.
It doesn't appear that September is going to break our drought, which will put this into a situation we probably haven't seen since the 1960s.
Today's rain likely won't keep Worcester from its worst drought in 50 years. In 1999, the city saw a drought like this one, but September brought heavy rainfall.
1960s drought was a 3-year drought, and it sort of set the benchmark for how bad things can get around here. Right now, we're still heading in that direction, so it's pretty serious.
Historian Joy Hennig says the drought in the 60s had a wide-ranging impact.
It had a profound impact, and not just on Worcester, but throughout the entire Northeast. It devastated crops. It resulted in high pollen counts and, of course, in water shortages in reservoirs all over the area.
Philip Herren is the city's director of water and sewer operations. He says even with more than an inch of rain Monday, Worcester is still well below its average for September. Herren says the department is estimating Worcester to reach a stage 4 severe drought emergency in late October.
At stage 4, it's pretty much everything comes to a standstill.
Herren says if the low rainfall trends continue, serious changes could be coming to the city.
We're going to maintain just enough to fight a fire, but we may have to shut off services and shut off parts of the city for hours at a time.
Area residents say they are trying to use less water and are glad to see rain because the alternative could be tough.
I love my baths, and if I can, I take several baths a day, and now I've brought myself down to one.
It was very hard driving, but I know we need the rain, so I welcomed it.
Brittany Schaefer, Worcester News Tonight.
A Worcester dentist charged with assaulting a female patient now facing 5 new charges against 2 other patients. According to the district attorney's office, Dr. Nikhil Patel was arraigned today on 5 new charges of indecent assault and battery. According to court documents, those assaults allegedly occurred between 2013 and 2016. Patel was released on personal recognizance. He is scheduled to return to court October 26th. And check this out. Here is something you don't see every day in Dudley. Police posting this picture of a moose on the loose. Dudley police having a little bit of fun with the incident, saying, quote, Bullwinkle was spotted in the area of Dresser Hill Road around 9 a.m. on Sunday. Nobody was hurt with this moose sighting, and residents are just being urged to use caution if they spot the moose.